I did a Degrassi poll a while last week about the biggest hypocrites in Degrassi history, and so I will give you your top 10. Now, I know if you read the Reddit posts and the polls, I did, well, I did two different polls. Who would win, 1 versus 2, and then I had 3 through 8 by ranking. Because I got 8 names that were big hypocrites that I believed were hypocrites. The only problem was I didn't want to do a top 8. So number 9 and 10 are actually two main characters on the show that I put in. But their level of hypocrisy was actually not that high compared to the other 8. So anyway, so number 9 and number 10 are kind of the same. It's a tie for 9th, but it's Radice and Simpson. Because when Radice and Simpson were both teachers, they were both pretty good. They helped students along. They got a good rapport with the students they taught. But when they became authority figures / principals, things were bad. I mean, when you look at Radice being a hypocrite, it's like Radice was a decent guy. I mean, Joey, I know, didn't take Radice that well. But when Radice became the VP in Degrassi High, he was good and all that. He was the guy who was told by Snake that Claude killed himself. All that. He did his best and all that. He was the on-screen principal, but he was not the real principal. He was the vice principal, unless he got promoted. Anyhow, and then he became principal in Degrassi Next Gen, and for a while he was okay. Like, he was there for a few times. But then when Fight for Your Right happened, about with Emma and getting overreactionary to Emma's flyers and all that, even though not too many people even wanted Emma's flyers, he felt that Emma was trying to attack him. So he basically told Emma to apologize for everything that's gone on with your stupid protest and all that. Emma does admit to guilt about the cafeteria food fight in Sheila, but she says that her voice was silenced by Radice, and he was threatening to suspend me for a while. And Radice had to go through with it, but Radice, in a sense, kind of was trying to make the school play his way, in a sense. Yes, we can't forget about season 4 in which he left Rick to his own devices. But the fact of the matter is, he should have stopped the bullying in the first place, before it got to that far. All he had to do was not let Rick back into Degrassi. But Radice, basically, it was either he said that he thought that Rick deserved a second chance, or basically the school board told him to give Rick a second chance. It's still unknown if Radice even wanted Rick back, or maybe he was being a coward. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, him being a principal, being a little bit jaded and all that. He wasn't pressured by a lot of people like Snake was. I think Snake was pressured as principal by the school board and Hollingsworth. I'll die on that hill if I have to. But, Snake was a good teacher and all that. I know he had to deal with Emma being precocious and all that. But when he became principal, he was fine. And then once Vegas hit, he became overreactionary. Either overreacted or underreacted. There was not too much middle ground, especially overreacting in season 13 to Maya's song about Zoe and put Maya into the rubber room for the year. That's kind of stupid, don't you think? But I think that, Snake had to bow to actresses' pressure. I don't know. Snake is a dick sometimes. But, he's the longest serving principal, so what can you do? All right, so now we come to the poll from 3 to 8. Okay, so there were 6 names. Obviously, Degrassi Reddit only gives me 6 names and all that. 179 people voted in this poll, and numbers 1 and 2 got their own poll because of how much they've been mentioned. All that stuff, so yeah. Pretty impressive, don't you think? All right, so here we go. Okay, gotta make sure I do this right. Number 8 with 7 votes is Mia. Now, I figure why Mia was put in this whole thing was because of the fact that, she was a teen mom who was willing to do anything for Isabella, but basically by season 8, she went into the Spirit Squad full blast, and her mother took care of Isabella and all that. Mia's responsibilities as a teen mom did piss Holly J off. But OJ was kind of a bully. I would say, in a sense, that, you know, Mia was too wrapped up in her modeling career and all that. If it wasn't for her mom taking good care of Mia's kid, then frig, you know, all that. And then Mia goes out to Paris. We don't know if Isabella went to Paris or she's back home, but I think she was back in Toronto. But it's like Mia goes to Paris for a modeling career and doesn't even care about Izzy. Kind of weird, don't you think? So anyway, yeah. Number 7 on the list with 10 votes was Marisol. Now, this is the era that I didn't really watch Degrassi as much. Marisol was basically a bitch in a sense, taking Casey away from Jenna because Casey and Jenna were expecting Tyson, and yet Casey would rather be with Marisol. Oh, that's kind of stupid. But yeah, Marisol wasn't really that great of a character, if you ask me. Now, I know it's a little bit biased for me because I don't know Marisol that much and how much she was a hypocrite. I just wish I knew. Anyway, a big shock at number 6 was Manny getting 13 votes, more than Marisol and more than Mia. I thought for sure that Manny would have lost to Marisol, and that would have been a good thing. But anyway, Manny had 13 votes, and people gave her a lot of hypocrisy. Mostly because of the fact that in season 3, when Manny tried to sexualize herself and Emma was not too pleased with it, Manny told Emma to go after Chris, who was somehow in a relationship. And Emma says she can't be that person. Like, after Sean and her split. So, anyway, the weird thing is that, you know, Manny hooks up with Craig, who's supposed to be in a relationship with Ashley, and Emma leaves the ravine early, being jaded and left behind. Manny's upset, saying that you stayed at the rave. Yes, but I stayed because I couldn't find a ride, and then I left. And all that. You left before me. Well, you were stayed with me after Chris, but I didn't go through with it. That's me. And then Manny and Emma break up as best friends. And of course, Manny gets pregnant by Craig. Ashley announces in school they're pregnant. And I think that was smart. I mean, I know Ashley was hated, but she was in the right. Craig was being a scumbag. So it was weird how Manny told Emma to go after Chris when Chris had a relationship, and then Manny stole Craig from Ashley. Chris ended up breaking up with his girlfriend, so Emma and Chris were a pair, but unfortunately that didn't work out so well as Emma's pettiness cost her dearly. But I feel like Manny was preaching all these things to Emma to try to be normal, and then she went out and did other things too. Emma called her out on it in season 4 when Emma was with Jay at the ravine. Emma says, "At least I'm not getting pregnant from my sex from with Jay." But anyway, yeah. I think Emma was struggling to get back to the way she was. But anyway, Manny was not too pleased with Emma snapping back at her. But what can you do? It's Manny. Anyway, yeah, Manny being an actress and then paying for plastic surgery and then being with Peter, who Emma thought that Manny was trying to steal her man because, Emma needed a boyfriend to be normal. But, Manny thankfully gets Emma to realize that Peter was scum all that. But that didn't stop Emma from going after Peter. Anyhow, Manny being with Jay was kind of weird and all that because, she only was with Jay to get at her parents for trying to give her freedom. And then all of a freaking sudden, poof. They're in love. Well, they break off because Manny is with this guy named Mick, who's her agent, but leaves her high and dry in the Degrassi Goes Hollywood movie. So we don't know where Manny ends up. Number 5 on the list with 43 votes in that poll was Claire. I don't completely think she was a giant hypocrite. Maybe in the early part of her Degrassi run, but after maybe season 11, she wasn't that much of a hypocrite. But her early stages, she was weird. Claire was the younger sister of Darcy, who is in this list. I will let you know where Darcy landed. But anyway, Claire was put in the gifted class in season 8 by her mom. She's only there to learn and not to have distractions such as boys and all that, because you know how much Darcy was distracted. So Claire tries her best to fit into the Christian values and all that. And then, you know, she dates Casey, who Jenna swipes from Claire's nose. Claire and Eli have their on again, off again relationship. Claire telling Eli, "Did you flip a switch and forget about me?" I feel like Claire. I think the moment where her parents divorced was when Claire stopped being kind of a prick and became much likable and all that. I would say a big hypocrite would be Claire and Darcy's mom, being all Christian and all that. But then all of a sudden, after Claire's mom married Mr. Martin, who actually ended up being the father of Jake, who Claire was going after, but now because Claire and Jake are step siblings, they can't date and all that. You know, Mrs. Mrs. Edwards actually was better. She was much calmer and all that. I think that her new husband told her about these things and why she's pushing people away from her. But yeah, I think Claire was okay in a sense, but definitely not too hypocritical. Number 4 with 50 votes in that poll was Ashley. So Ashley was well hated with it and is well hated in the Degrassi Reddit universe. But the fact of the matter is that Ashley, you know, deserves less hate than she does. I mean, I know she's kind of a hypocrite by her actions in seasons 2 and 3 and all that. But she was in a dark place. I mean, she lost her friends. Paige forced Hazel and Terry to stop being friends with Ashley, or else they would be basically being picked on. Paige protected them. Paige was a prick and all that. I will die on that hill. Anyway, Paige ended up, you know, being kind of a dick in a sense. But anyway, Ashley became very moody in season 3 and all that. And Paige calls her out on her moodiness, saying that you shouldn't be upset over this whole Craig situation. Like, you think that it's a blow to you and all that. And Ashley took Craig back. So Ashley destroys Craig, and then Craig writes this stupid, sappy song and gets Ashley back. And Ashley deserved better and all that. She went with Craig, even though Craig was scum for going out with Manny and getting her pregnant. But I think Ashley was in a dark place. She wanted a boy, and she wanted everything. And then she goes off to England for a few years, comes back in season 7 for some reason. And, you know, it doesn't work out for Ashley, and she leaves again. So, like, what is with Ashley? You know, she didn't want to stay in one place. And at number 3 with 56 votes was Tristan. So Tristan, in a sense, was a gigantic hypocrite. Rachel Violetta posted saying that I picked Tristan because he seemed to just go around blaming everyone except himself for his own problems and was judging in general. I hated how he never apologized to Maya after finding out Yates was actually grooming other boys in addition to him, but whatever. So that was one of the big things about Tristan being hypocrite. Also, by the fact that Tristan was being biphobic. After Miles suggested he wanted to be with boys and girls, Tristan says, "You've got to pick one or the other." I think Tristan was hoping that Miles would pick boys and then stay with him instead of being with girls and dumping Tristan off. Tristan, I think, was just upset, thinking that he was going to be broken up with. But that's no excuse for his actions. Tristan finally allowed Miles to be himself and all that. But it took a while and a coma. But anyway, the big thing, as Rachel says, is about Mr. Yates. In season 13, Tristan had an affection for his English teacher, Mr. Yates, and went over to his house for a lot of things. But Maya learned that Mr. Yates was grooming him and Winston and a few other boys. So basically, Yates was trying to use boys for his own pleasure, if you will. And Maya stops it, calls Yates. Yates gets investigated, and then Tristan blows up at Maya saying that you have many guys going after you, and just because of me, Like, you're jealous that I'm with Miles. You have other boys that could date you. Why do you want to go after Miles? And Maya says, this isn't about that. It's about protecting you. You could have got hurt. What would have happened if you got, you know, hurt? But yeah, Tristan forces Maya to apologize to him. And it's like, stupid. Why would Maya even want to talk to Tristan, much less, apologize? And then, Tristan with that thing in Paris with Maya, pretending that Maya was his girlfriend. Well, most gay people do that. They try to hide their homosexuality by dating people of the other sex. I mean, Marco did it in season 2 before he came in the closet in season 3, so, like, that was nothing new. The fact of the matter for Tristan is that, yeah, he was kind of a dipshit in a way. And people were happy when he actually was in a coma. Kind of sickening. No one deserves. Like, if you were a murderer and you were in a coma, then that would be good. But, Tristan deserved some redemption, and I don't think he really got the redemption he deserved. All right, so that's that for 3 to 8. But now the top 2 I decided to do a poll of the top 2. 179 people voted for this, and actually, when I looked at the voting on the first few days, there was one person who was first place was actually really in the lead. But by the time the voting closed about a day ago, it was huge. The final result was 92 to 87. It was that close. If it was a tie, then I would have had to break the tie myself. But anyway, number 2 on the list with 87 votes of the 1-2 poll is Emma. So anyway, Emma kind of was judgmental in the first few seasons of Degrassi. Everyone knows that after the Rick Murray situation, season 4, I guess she was hypocritical in a sense. I was going to say after season 4, she stopped being hypocritical after the Rick Murray situation, but nope, I'm wrong. Anyway, Emma was portrayed in season 1 as someone who was trying to look after her friends, but it seemed that it was in the wrong mood. I mean, she was concerned about Liberty and Coach Armstrong, but it was revealed for Liberty that Armstrong was comforting her because of her math problems, even though Liberty is a smart cookie in other subjects. So Emma was worried about it. There was a reason, because if people remember correctly, Emma was catfished in the series premiere of Degrassi Next Gen. And I think she was just uncomfortable thinking that Liberty would be next and all that. The catfishing incident played with Emma's mind for a while. And then, she was upset over Manny and the cheerleading squad in season 1 saying that, cheerleaders are being sexualized. And Paige said, no, we're going to have guys on the squad. But that doesn't mean it is. That's gender. That's not sexuality. So basically, Emma was hoping that Manny doesn't turn into a cheerleader and people will take advantage of her and all that. But unfortunately, Manny blows up at Emma. But in the end, Emma was right the whole time. Even though some say that Emma was jealous she didn't get on the squad. Anyway, let's see. Season 2 about her. I don't know how much hypocrisy she had about her, with her mom, that being Spike, dating Snake and all that. She didn't want her home life and her school life to clash. So yeah, fair enough. Season 3 was about the Chris situation, but Manny forced her onto it. She might have been a hypocrite in season 4 about Chris. She doesn't like Chris being with Liberty, but Emma doesn't want to be with Chris. So yeah, that is hypocrisy. Emma doesn't want to be Chris. She just wants to prevent Chris from being with Liberty, because then people will talk about how Chris didn't make it work with Emma. And it's like, Emma really thinks of people's opinions? That's unusual. She usually doesn't. Manny calls her out on it, and then, Manny and Liberty break off with her as friends, and Emma tries to join Paige's clique, gets burned, and, pathetic. I think that Paige's clique in season 4 was hypocritical because of the whole fact that, they wanted to get Rick out, but they want to use violence and not Emma's silent campaign. and making it the Orange Ribbon campaign as a way to beat up on Rick, as an excuse to beat up on Rick. I think the students were massive hypocrites and all that, and deserved more flack than they have now. But yeah, season 5, Emma was a hypocrite because she protects Manny from Peter's advances. Peter's the bad guy, but then Emma goes towards Peter. That's the biggest thing of hypocrisy I've ever seen from Emma. Now, I'm not making apologies for Emma, excuses for Emma, if you will. But I have to say this. Emma, I think, was in the boy crazy phase that resulted from the Rick Murray situation. Hear me out on this. So Emma didn't have a boyfriend, nor did she really have any real friends. The only friends she had were on the Wacky Rain team with like Rick, Toby, and Hedda Sinclair, and Jimmy. But the fact of the matter is that Emma wanted to be with a boy. And maybe in the back of Emma's mind, she thought that if I had a boyfriend when this happened, he might have stopped Rick from going after me. And so I think Emma found out that she really wanted a boy. But there's also the fact that she may want to be a boy because her friends have boys and she didn't want to be left out. Of course, her friend crazy cringe phase was later in the season. But yeah, Emma became a giant hypocrite for being with Peter, even though that Peter hurt her best friend. I think in a way Emma wanted to push Manny, saying that, I let you into my house, you obey my rules, and if you break them, I'll destroy you. Emma could be that cruel. You never know. So let's see if there were a lot of comments about Emma. Rachel said that she picked Emma because I remember more about her being hypocritical. I didn't like Darcy at all and zoned out through her scenes. Yeah, so a lot of people couldn't comment on it. But anyway, yeah, I think Emma, in a sense, was a hypocrite. I don't know if she was a hypocrite about Kelly and all that. Maybe not. But anyway, number 1, who won the poll? And remember I said that Claire's sister was in this poll? I said Darcy was in this poll? This is where Darcy is, number 1. So Darcy and Emma. That was close, right down the pike. But anyway, yeah, Darcy became a massive hypocrite. She was introduced in season 4 as someone who Toby paid $5 to kiss Rick in part of the kissing bet. But in later seasons, Darcy became a massive hypocrite for her Christian values and all that, kind of pissing off a lot of people. Season 6, about being a hypocrite, dealing with Spinner. Like, Spinner was trying to change his tone after being expelled for his role in getting Jimmy shot. But I think, in a sense, that, her being a little bit hypocritical of things turned Spinner off. And Spinner didn't want to deal with her stupidity and all that. If I remember correctly, she was hypocritical in season 6 after Peter was dumped off by Emma because Peter tried to destroy Sean so that he could be with Emma. Stay with Emma, if I will. He actually goes after Darcy. I mean, I think there was a hidden agenda because Peter kind of may have known about Darcy helping Spinner in season 5 get back to things. That after what he did to Sean and Emma, he turned them both off against him. He wanted to be with somebody. So he went with Darcy, thinking that Darcy would help him out in the end. And Peter used the excuse of his home life with his parents separated and all that, it's pathetic and all that. But the fact of the matter was that, why would Darcy be with Peter? And why would Darcy, who was judgmental of people's clothes, actually strip down to her underwear and bra for pictures that Peter posted to an internet site, which this Adams guy was creeping out on her? And then why would she be with Peter after that? Peter screwed everything up, and then, Peter got to Darcy. I mean, I know season 7 Peter was much better to Darcy, but still, she was a massive hypocrite and all that. Now, I don't blame all of Darcy's problems on Darcy. I do blame her mom because her mom was strongly the religious person and all that, and forced religion on Darcy and Claire. I think Darcy and Claire wanted to do some other stuff, but she pushed Darcy and Claire too much. And I still, to this day, and I will die on this hill, think that Darcy was pushed to Africa by her parents for what she did in season 7. for embarrassing the family. I mean, they didn't even acknowledge Darcy after Shanae Grimes left the show in season 8. But, like, honestly. So, yeah, kind of almost said Darcy was terrible and judgy, but then she puts up sexy pics on the internet and thinks that it's okay. I feel like the Friendship Club was basically maybe to blame for Darcy's overproductiveness because, you know, how Christian groups sometimes preach one thing and then they do another. They're hypocrites as much. Anyway, Final Assistant said that Darcy was the bigger hypocrite because her hypocritical stances were harsher than Emma's. She judged Mia for being a teenage mother, but then she makes money off photos online for Spirit and Power Squad. Actually, that's false because those pictures were not to help Spirit and Power Squad. It was for Darcy's gain, thanks to Peter. She falsely accused Snake of something he didn't do in season 7. I understand she was in a place of hurting, but you can't wrongfully lash out and expect not to receive flack for it. And she even helped Manny sabotage and drop Paige during a cheer practice. I mean, Manny and Paige had that big rivalry in season 4. But anyway, yeah. So Darcy, yeah, that's another thing. Season 7 thing was also huge because of the fact that when Darcy was with Peter at a ski thing, she actually thought she had sex. But unfortunately, she didn't. It ended up being that a guy spiked her drink and Darcy got raped. And Darcy felt terrible because she would be judged by her fellow Friendship Club members. Let's face it, the Friendship Club basically did rub me the wrong way. But the fact of the matter is that Darcy, accusing Simpson only because she was scared because her mother was brought in for a meeting. Darcy was scared and she didn't want to let her mom down, so she blamed Snake for things, even though that Snake was trying to help Darcy out with her problems and all that. Darcy went to Snake for help. And then Darcy got scared and blamed Snake for everything. So anyway, Snake got booted for a while. And Darcy felt terrible about herself and said that she would do whatever it took to get Snake back, admitting to everything to the school board. But the school board didn't allow Snake back right away because they probably thought that Snake forced Darcy to say those stuff, but it was on Darcy's accord. So anyhow, Darcy was okay in a sense, but she tried to make it new. Emma got pissed at her for obvious reasons. Darcy made inroads, went to Brad camp, and actually came out a better person. So she got saved by that. Thank God for that. I mean, honestly. So yeah, so Darcy was a big hypocrite and all that. But I feel like her mother was a part of her hypocrisy. Fight me on it. Anyway, thanks for watching and have a good day.